Hi everyone, welcome back. So I want to first start off this video by saying thank you so much for 10,000 views on my Fred on iCarly video. That's crazy for a channel of my size, so thank you to everybody that watched that. And if you haven't seen that yet, well, I guess you know what to watch after this. It seems that people really like the Nickelodeon videos that I do because all of them have done pretty well. And it just so happens that I also really enjoy making them, so I guess I'm gonna do more. So let's talk about Obama. No, not that Obama. This Obama. So Michelle Obama was the American First Lady from 2008 to 2016, because of course she's the wife of the American President Barack Obama. So while the First Lady isn't actually an elected official, she does take on a role as a political figure of sorts. Now, I've never claimed to be any sort of expert on the American political system, but my understanding is that the First Lady usually picks some sort of cause to go after. Usually it's something that's fairly bipartisan or otherwise pretty safe. You know, usually something like child literacy or healthy living. Generally something that's not going to make the president look bad. Like, nobody's going to be complaining that the First Lady supports child literacy. What are you? A monster? Nah dude, those kids can't read. Michelle Obama's main cause was all about healthy living. So she'd make appearances on shows like Sesame Street to talk about healthy eating and exercise. And she also just so happened to make an appearance on iCarly. Did you guess that yet? Did you read the title of the video? Yeah? Okay, cool. Just checking. But it's true, and it's wild. The First Lady of the United States went on a Nickelodeon show and did this. It's such a shame that they didn't slime her. But Michelle Obama didn't actually go on iCarly to promote healthy eating. She instead went on the show to promote a different cause, which was support for, and I guess general awareness around, military families. Because quite conveniently, Carly's dad in the show is in the military. So I guess in this perfect twist of fate, and maybe also supported by the fact that the Obamas had 2 young daughters at the time, Michelle Obama agreed to go on iCarly. And so today I thought we'd take a look at that episode and basically just remind ourselves that it even happened. So the episode opens up with Carly, Sam, and Freddie planning a party for Carly's dad, who's in the Air Force and is meant to be coming home that week. Now, the character of Carly's dad has always been kind of weird for me. The whole point of him is that he's never around. He's basically just an excuse to explain away why Carly gets to live with her cool older brother Spencer instead of, like, you know, responsible parents. I have kind of a working theory that they really wanted to give a role to Jerry Traynor, but he wasn't old enough to play Carly's dad, so they had to come up with a reason why the parents weren't around. And they established this whole running gag with him where they never show what he looks like until the very last episode. So, I wonder what's gonna happen in this one, guys.
Okay. Tell me what you guys think, huh?
What?
You got a job interview?
Ew, no, gross.
He never told our dad that he dropped out of law school, so now he wants to pretend that he graduated and that he's a lawyer at a big law firm.
I gotta. You want Dad to come home and be disappointed in me?
So Spencer decided that he's going to pretend to be a lawyer because he wants to impress his dad when he shows up. But as we've already established in my previous iCarly videos, whatever Spencer's doing is enough to afford this really fancy apartment in Seattle. So, I mean, his dad's got to be at least a little bit impressed with him. Is nothing good enough for Colonel Shea? Like, poor Spencer. The dude's achieved so much. He has an elevator in his apartment, but he still just suffers with this, like, inferiority complex.
Whoa! What's this?
Don't touch it! That's your dad's birthday cake. Yeah. It's an exact replica of an Air Force F-22 fighter jet.
Oh, an exact replica? Well, that's cool. But, there are a few guys outside that say they have some questions for you about where exactly you got those plans. So inevitably, Colonel Shea has to cancel his homecoming for this reason.
That was my dad. He can't come home now.
What?
No way!
Yeah, there's some situation in some country. I don't know. He's got to help handle it.
Yeah, don't you just hate it when that happens? What is it with all of these crazy countries getting into crazy situations? Like, that is such a throwaway line. You just know that the writers of this episode absolutely could not think of a reason why Carly's dad couldn't be there. So they were just kind of like, I don't know, war? It also really reminds me of that iCarly robot chicken sketch. So obviously Carly is really upset. For all of about 2 minutes of this episode, because the rest of the iCarly gang hatch a plan to cheer her up.
Me, Gibby, and Frednard got a cool surprise for little Miss Carly Shay here.
As a lot of you know, Carly's dad,
Colonel Shay,
is in the Air Force.
You know, I sort of wonder if the iCarly gang revealing that Carly's dad is a senior member of the Air Force to her, as already established in previous episodes, millions of followers, is a good idea? Well, you know, as long as they don't do anything wacky and zany, like maybe reveal his location or how long he's going to be there for, then it'll be fine, right?
I told you guys, he's at some military base for the next 5 weeks.
And connecting to overseas Air Force Base?
That's right, iCarly fans. Colonel Shay is located at this military base for this amount of time during this crisis. Anyway, next on iCarly, Gibby's going to be revealing the names of all American spies currently working in Cuba. So honestly, I suppose them revealing that a military person is at this military location isn't necessarily that bad. But then Freddy sort of runs this very sketchy looking program to establish a video call with Carly's dad.
what up with a picture?
1 sec. Colonel Shay, can you see us?
So, are we sure that Freddy didn't just hack into a military base? What sort of resources do iCarly have access to not only get Fred and One Direction on their show, but to establish a secure video call with the American military? You know, the more of this show I watch, the more I'm convinced that iCarly just has the nuclear launch codes. Anyway, they do the whole gag about not being able to see the dad because it's a really bad connection, and then they do this really weird song as well.
Happy birthday, Colonel Shay. Yeah! Today's the day that you were born.
You bet!
We wish that you could be here with us. Cause if you were, we'd give you a hug. Give him a hug!
And then suddenly they run into even more trouble with the connection.
Guys, I may not be able to hold this connection much longer.
I love this trope so much. Guys, I just bypassed the file. It's a Unix system. I know this one. I just got into their mainframe. I'm not sure how much longer I can hold it. Like, it's an internet connection, bro. Calm yourself. Maybe it's that Wi-Fi antenna that Freddy has on his laptop. You probably shouldn't be buying those things from AliExpress. But even though the call was cut short, Carly is still really happy that she got to talk to her dad. Until the next day, when she comes home and finds that she has some visitors.
Hey.
Also, I never realised that Taron Killam from SNL plays like a Secret Service agent in this episode. Although I guess it actually does make sense because he was on Nickelodeon shows in the past. Like, a lot of people don't realise that he was actually the one that played the love interest in Moody's Point on The Amanda Show.
This is about your recent webcast.
To a secure military base overseas.
So I was right. Freddy actually does hack into a military base. Which makes you ask the question, is the military security so poor that this guy can break into it? Or, alternative theory, is iCarly so powerful that they have access to technology that the US military just have never heard of? Also, are the iCarly gang going to be facing federal charges now? Are they going to be webcasting from prison? I really need to know. I actually loved the plot of this episode because so far it's been Freddy breaks into a military base and now they're gonna get arrested. But they don't get arrested. Instead, the Secret Service just rummages around the apartment and then tells Carly to not leave town.
Psst. Over here. Where have you been? Getting stuff. Here's a wig for you.
Sam's wig and glasses actually fit her pretty well. Like, she looks like she's about to tell somebody at a restaurant that she doesn't need to wear a mask. But then just as Sam hatches a plan for them to all leave the country, the Secret Service show up and then escort Carly and the gang back to her apartment.
Now let's get inside. There's someone in here who wants to see you.
Who?
Someone very high up in the United States government.
Who do you think it's gonna be, guys? Any guesses?
I tell you, there's more! There's way more!
No way! Michelle Obama? How did you get in here? Joking aside, it is wild that they managed to get Michelle Obama on an episode of iCarly, especially considering this was during Obama's presidency. And actually, her acting isn't that bad. Obviously, this is Nickelodeon, and so your acting doesn't need to be anything crazy, but even so.
Please don't put us in federal prison.
He's the guilty one.
My mom voted for your husband.
Hey, can you guys lend me some laundry detergent?
Hey! Who's your friend?
So the Secret Service make this whole big deal about securing Carly's apartment beforehand, and now they just let Tebow walk in? Now I know why Freddy hacked the military. So Michelle Obama reveals that she's not actually there to arrest anyone, but is instead there to congratulate everybody for the surprise that they put together for Carly and her dad. So I guess the hacking thing sort of wasn't an issue. She gives a small speech about military families and the importance of supporting them, which is the whole reason why she's on the show in the first place. So in this scene, there's a whole bunch of Secret Service members standing around in the background. And of course, 2 of them who had speaking roles earlier are clearly actors. But you know, I do sort of wonder if any of them are actually Secret Service. There's a bunch of really cool behind the scenes footage of this episode when it was being shot, and in the background there's a whole bunch of Secret Service members that are standing around, so they clearly were there at the time. And I guess you really never know. Hey, maybe this guy's Secret Service, maybe it's this guy, maybe it's this guy. And then of course they invite her on iCarly. Kind of like how Nickelodeon invited her on iCarly. Her being on the webcast is definitely the best part of this episode because it's just so awkward.
I'm on iCarly!
This is all just typical random equals funny iCarly humor, but it's made so much stranger when the literal wife of the president is participating in it. So I know I just said that I was wondering if any of the Secret Service guys were real Secret Service, but I can tell you one guy who's definitely not Secret Service.
Oh, now I can finally finish that robot! I'm not supposed to mention the robot?
So, first of all, yikes. But second of all, you just absolutely know that Dan Get in the Van Schneider wrote himself into this script just so he could get close to Michelle Obama. And after all that, the episode closes out with some random dance. Michelle Obama being in iCarly is actually really weird. What a trip the early 2010s were. You know, as much as Michelle Obama being in an episode of iCarly is weird itself, I don't think there's much in this episode that makes it particularly strange beyond that. In all honesty, she actually comes across as pretty likable. You know, as far as Nickelodeon acting can take you. But I guess a lot of that might be down to the fact that this script was probably poured over by her staff and like PR experts to make sure that there was nothing that could possibly make her look bad. This episode also clearly exists entirely as a means for her to push her own cause. But to be honest, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, like, what other reason would she have for coming on iCarly? So to an extent, you sort of have to expect that. In the Fred video, I made the criticism that Fred barely shows up in the episode until right at the end, and I guess I could make the same criticism here, because Fred doesn't show up in this episode at all. Like, where is he? Seriously though, Michelle Obama only shows up in this episode for a few minutes at the end, but to be honest, that's not that bad. Like, she was the literal wife of the president at the time. Do you really expect her to be spending multiple days filming iCarly? Beyond that, I don't really have any conclusions for this video, apart from just repeating stuff that I would have said in other iCarly videos. Guest episodes are always kind of weird. This is clearly a promotion. You know the drill. But all in all, I really just wanted to make this video to highlight the fact that this even happened in the first place. I guess the stars must have aligned in some way for Nickelodeon at the time. They just so happened to have a show where one of the minor characters is a military parent, at the same time as Michelle Obama was pushing an initiative related to that. And the fact that they were able to get the First Lady of the United States on their show really just shows how popular iCarly was at the time, which is something I think a lot of people forget. There's some really interesting behind the scenes content and promo footage building up to this episode, which shows that this was obviously a really big deal for Nickelodeon, which I guess there's something to be said about that. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the time that the First Lady of the United States was on iCarly. It was really great to have a look at another iCarly episode. I only ever look at these iCarly episodes when I think there is one that's interesting enough to cover, so don't expect me to make a video on every single one. But if you do have any ideas for more episodes for me to cover, or really anything else for that matter, then please let me know. Other than that, I want to say thank you so much for 200 subscribers. That's pretty cool. Lastly, if you liked the video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.